We are so excited that you have joined us. Through this training, we will walk with you and help you become more efficient and comfortable in designing crowns in a step-by-step, stress-free, easy-to-follow way. In this first module, we will talk about the basics of computer use, proper appointment scheduling, and the sequence of events for the operatory. The usual pattern will be as follows. We will verbally explain what we are about to teach. Then you will see a few screens of written explanation. Then you will watch a narrated screen recording of an actual case or a stone model. Please take what you learn in these modules and apply them immediately. Amelia Earhart said the most effective way to do something is to do it. Repetition is the key, so pick up some stone models and just get started with the basics. Feel free to bring your computer over, have a seat, and work right along beside of me. So now we're going to go through an introduction of basic computer use and startup, functions of the software and the buttons. So the most important thing is the computer should always be plugged in. Whenever it's in use, whenever the computer is on, leave it plugged in or else you may lose data. If the power cuts off, you might lose an entire scan. So once our computer has been turned on, we are going to see a Romexis icon on the screen. We should double click that and it will bring up the software. Your individual computer or version might appear a little bit different. Call SOS if there's any question. Once we are on this page, we can click Add Patient or we can select an existing. You can choose what method of organization you want in your office. Here we like to use the date as our patient ID, and then we like to enter a first name and a last name. Click Save Patient. At the bottom, we're going to choose Go to CAD CAM. Double click this. We can select New Scan and Design. We can select Scan Only. New Scan and Design will be selected if we are making a restoration in the office. A new scan might be if we're going to be scanning, checking for parallelism, or if we are going to only send out a scan to a lab digitally. Double-click New Scan and Design. Once we get to this page, we have to select the correct criteria. We're going to be telling the computer all the basic information it needs to know about the crown we're going to be working on today. What tooth number are we working on? If it's going to be multiple, select both. If you want to deselect one, right-click and deselect. If you're doing a bridge, we'll select 3 teeth, click Link, click the first and the last, and they turn pink. If that was a mistake, click them, unlink, click on them again. Right-click, deselect. Right-click, deselect. Simple and easy to do. Select if we are doing a crown. Maybe if we're doing a bridge, there will be a Pontic. If we have stone models or impressions, we'll use a bite registration. Otherwise, if the patient is in the chair, we're going to use the buccal and opposing. That is a buccal scan in the mouth. Most of the time we'll use a pre-op scan. This is the tooth before any prep is done. We also have the option of using a library tooth. We can change this selection later. Emax CAD is the normal material. Translucency can be whatever block you have, whatever you choose. Most of the time, low translucency is ideal. Pick your shade and click Scan. Another really important point to note is your scanning ergonomics, your positioning of the patient, the computer, and yourself in the operatory. Some of this depends on your operatory and your personal taste, but there are some guidelines to follow. We need to be behind the reclined patient's head, with the computer placed in a way that we do not have to sit in an awkward way to see it or reach the mouse. The best setup is a diagonal setup, with the computer on one side of the dental chair and the assistant on the opposite side. all in a straight line with the patient's head. Simple basic design flow goes as follows in 4 main steps. We will dive deeper into these in the next module. First is orientation in the margin, marking the path of draw and the edge of the crown. This is extremely important, and we need certain measures to help us see this better. This could be the laser, cord, or some kind of material such as Traxident. Second is designing the axial walls, the marginal ridges, and embrasures. This is designing the main contours and profiles of the crown. Third is the occlusion, interproximals, and material thickness at the margin. This is fine-tuning and making sure the details are good. Fourth is the final evaluation, sprue placement, and simulation. If we need to add anatomy or make sure that everything is functional, and then we send to the mill. There are many buttons and functions to learn, and you will find some work much better than others in your hands. We will go through the main ones in this module, but go more in depth with detailed and fine-tuning buttons in a later module. The scanner should always be disinfected according to the manufacturer's instructions immediately after finishing with a patient. The sequencing of events for the assistant and the dentist in the operatory can be a little bit tricky at first when you're first starting to learn how to do same visit crowns. When we're first integrating, 2 visits are necessary and ideal to allow the assistant enough time to design and mill without stress. There is a learning curve that must be respected and giving time to master. Also, choose your patients wisely. Some patients and some crowns will be better suited than others for a 2-visit scenario. As the process speeds up, the assistant becomes more confident and a crown can be designed in 10 minutes or less. Later, we will discuss a concise, stepwise process to streamline our design method. Same visit crowns can then be scheduled. The dentist in charge may have understandable reluctance to allow assistants to take on more responsibility, but it is crucial in this process. The assistant will have much more available time to spend learning and mastering the process, freeing up the dentist to do things only he or she can do. Part of the key to successful dentistry and general leadership is the increased and accurate delegation of responsibilities to the correct people. First, recognize those people who are and identify their abilities. Clearly define the goals and expectations. Position them for success within the practice by equipping them and encouraging them. Keep track of the progress and how the model works. If it's good, continue. If not, tweak it so it improves. Back to the scenario. First, the assistant can discuss the treatment and estimate with the patient, answer questions, and place topical anesthetic. The dentist then anesthetizes, or a hygienist, if they're available, can be used to anesthetize. The dental assistant scans the preoperative tooth while the patient waits. The dental assistant can check intraoral pictures, x-rays, etc. The dentist preps using the isolite, then places Traxident or other desired tissue retraction method, such as cord or a soft tissue laser. When tissue retraction is not necessary, we don't need to waste time with it. Sometimes Viscostat and a cotton ComperCap is sufficient and a time saver. The assistant can then use an isolite for isolation to scan the prep. For training purposes in the beginning, models can be taken to allow for further study and practice. This is not preferred, as it is not as accurate or efficient, but it can help as new faces are training. Some form of retraction and isolation is crucial. It saves time and improves scanning accuracy. Sometimes only a mirror is needed for retraction, but usually an isolite or scanning device is most helpful. The doctor then checks the shade, scans, and margins before the patient leaves. An assistant becomes more confident. The dentist can feel confident about fewer checks. In a 2-visit setting, patient leaves with no temporary and returns after a break for delivery in the same day. In the meantime, the assistant designs, mills, glazes, has time to call SOS if needed for immediate support, pressure-free. At delivery, crown is initially tried in by the assistant, and the dentist is given a report. Margins, occlusion, contacts, shade should all be checked. If everything is a go, the doctor can cement. Proper scheduling for the front staff. Same-day crowns will initially be 2 separate visits, one in the morning for an hour and one in the afternoon for an hour. These should be several hours apart to allow the assistant and dentist to work together as they train. There is no need to block the doctor's schedule or the assistant's schedule. The crowns can be worked on in between patients or at other manageable times during your schedule. Time management is crucial. Each individual office will need to decide how to best handle that learning curve. Sample scheduling. Prep 1 hour, 8 to 9 a.m., then delivery 1 to 2 p.m., or any time frame that works for your office. The main goal is to allow several hours between these appointments. Patients can take a lunch break or run errands, and generally they appreciate that extra time. This allows a stress-free environment for the assistant to hone their skills. The scheduling depends on the doctor and assistant. It can be very flexible at first, as there is a learning curve and everyone takes a different amount of time to become comfortable. Do what works for your particular situation and staff, but try not to block the schedule as production is lost. Make use of the free time the most that you can. When the assistant becomes more confident and efficient, there will be a transition to a 2.5 hour same visit crown, then eventually 2 hours, and maybe even potentially less than that. Longer than a 2.5 hour visit should be avoided to prevent wasted chair time and lost production. There should not be pressure, but encouragement to increase speed and efficiency. For one, fewer clicks and less time spent on a computer is healthier. 2, although we are perfectionists and love for our crowns to be the most beautiful there is, they will not be perfect, as nothing in life is perfect. Eventually, crown appointments and bridges or veneers can be staggered and several done in the same day. Stagger at least by a minimum of 30 minutes for the start time of each of those appointments. This allows enough time to complete all the steps needed without too much waiting for the doctor or the patient. Next time, in video 2, we will talk about how to scan and design crowns.